What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is the 9x9, the 81 square meters of the best volleyball coverage on the internet. It is episode 22. It's Tuesday, April 12th. My name's Rob St. Clair. That's Everett DeLorme. And joining us once again is a special guest from Toronto, Mr. Dan Manili from 5-1 Volleyball. Boys, welcome to the show. What's going on?
Not
How's
too
it going,
much.
Rob? We're doing well. Thanks for having us on again. Good to be back. It seems though I missed last week because I had a certain illness, and now it seems the shoe's on the other foot. It seems like everyone in the universe is going through the same thing, Rob.
Yes, there's this. Everybody's favorite coronavirus has waged war on me for a second time now, and I fought it off the first time, and I'm going to do it again. But if you notice my voice sounds a little weird, or if I forget to mute myself while I go to cough, that's the reason. But I'm hanging in there. So, yeah, it seems to be the thing in vogue to do right about now, huh, Dan?
Seems to be. It depends though. Like some people get it worse, some people don't. We'll see. At least it's not affecting volleyball right now. That's all I care about.
Thank goodness.
Or me. I'm safe from it.
Yeah, Everett got over his about a month ago. It's really going around.
That's true. January, February were not fun for me. But Rob, I'm wondering if are you actually sick, or are you just exhausted and your voice is hoarse from all the commentating you've been doing? VLA this weekend, and might as well jump into it. One of the most epic matches. You just described it to me as the best non-finals Champion League match ever. Now, Dan and I have already broke it down. We've already discussed it. But Rob, give us your initial takes on Trentino's epic golden set win to qualify for the Superfinals in the Champions League last Thursday.
Yes. Well, first of all, I agree. I will stand by that take that it's the best non-championship match or series in the history of Champions League. Both matches were just so ridiculous, with Trentino winning the first in 5 and then this one going to a golden set. So I couldn't fit it all in one graphic, but sure enough, we got a golden set right there that Trentino won at home 17-15. They were up 8-2. I think they were up 12-7. And sure enough, Perugia comes all the way back, and Wilfredo Leon rips an ace down 13-14 to tie it up. But then Rick Liskey, who had a phenomenal match, hit the ball out of bounds to lose at 17-15. This was a defining moment for my career as a commentator. First of all, it was the best match or series I've ever commentated. It was important to me to be able to do that. It was an honor. I said at the very end of that second broadcast that I was almost in tears because of how good it was. and I wasn't lying about that. That was not a joke. Sorry, I can't speak. 1 second.
Yeah, that's you're already tearing up,
right?
You're welling up. I admit it.
It's happened to me again. So this was just insane. I think this series was better than both of Zaxa's runs to the finals last year, like the Zenit Kazan series, the Lube series last year, which was just so insane, and some of the other great moments in the history of the CV Champions League. But this, as far as non-finals go, I really think this was it. So compared to what we talked about on last week's show, and you guys did a good job breaking this match down on Friday's podcast, so we don't have to go into it too deep. But from my perspective, I was first incredibly impressed with Matt Anderson. Man, he turned it around. 20 for 31, 4 errors total. That's above 50% efficiency, 2 aces and a block. And while Perugia as a team had the worst serving performance maybe ever, and I think we've been on the same page this year that's really the only time they're going to lose is if they serve the ball like trash. Sure enough, 6 aces to 28 errors. Those 6 aces were 4 by Leon, 2 by Anderson, and none by everybody else. Rick Liskey, 6 service errors, no aces. Gianelli, 4 service errors, no aces. Leon, 4 aces to 10 errors. Like, good ratio, but 10 errors is just way too many. So Perugia had a terrible serving performance. They had a bad day from Wilfredo Leon, which you guys already talked about. Trentino was insane as usual. Micheletto was outstanding. But what really impressed me was 2 things. One, Trentino dealt with some injuries. Matej Kaziski went out in the middle of the 4th set and did not return. So they had to bring in Oreste Cavuto for him, and they hung in the rest of that 4th set, even though they lost. Then they move Lavia to the left and bring in Pinali on the right. It's like more of a traditional lineup of wings, and they barely lose the 5th, 15-13, but they're able to win a golden set with that lineup. So they did this. They made this incredible statement without one of their best players. Kaziski wasn't even on the floor in the 5th set of the golden set. And the other thing that impressed me, excuse me, was Trentino's ability to capitalize on Perugia's weaknesses in the rotation whenever Alessandro Micheletto was serving. They played their cards right, where whenever Micheletto was serving, Leon was passing in the front court. So he was passing in position 5 and hitting in the front row. Every time that happened, Trentino went on a run, including the run that got them up 8-2 in the golden set. Micheletto was just hooking serves from position 5 to position 5. Leon could not pass the ball inside the 3-meter line. And
terrible rotation.
Terrible. Such a bad rotation for them. And nobody attacking could get them out of that rotation. And it wasn't even aces that many, although Micheletto had 3, but that rotation dominated this matchup to me. Even the first match, it was still a weakness for Perugia, but it is the singular reason why Trentino won this match, is that they were able to run in Micheletto's service rotation, targeting Wilfredo Leon passing. And that's an area of his game that we've criticized over the years, but he's really, really significantly improved lately. Until this particular one, he couldn't handle that one particular serve, and it might be the reason why Perugia lost the series.
Now, this is a question for both of you. Does this loss affect Leon's legacy?
I mean, kind of a follow-up to our discussion on Friday. I would say maybe not this loss specifically in particular, but like we've said the last couple of years, Everett, it is starting to pile up a bit. These things are cumulative, right? I mean, he had this incredible legendary run with Zenit Kazan, and nobody can take that away from him. And, you can end his career right there, retire at 24, 25, and he's still a Hall of Famer, still one of the best volleyball players ever. However, the fact that he has not been able to win anything yet outside of Perugia, and especially, he's had some legitimate excuses in the past, whether it's been setting or injuries. But this year, there's no excuses. This year and especially since a lot of the defeat, it didn't fall on him, I would say, but they needed him to play better. They needed him to be, that 60% efficiency, 5 ace, 5 air, Wilfredo Leon, and he didn't come up with the goods today. So I would say, yes, this is starting to affect his legacy, especially if this continues for another few years.
He got blocked 9 times.
Yeah.
He got stuff blocked 9 times, plus 5 unforced errors on only 18 kills. That's
credit to Sreko Lisinac on those. 5 of those were Lisinac. And a couple solos in there too.
Lisinac was just outstanding, like you guys talked about last week. But even Spertoli got him a couple times, and that is a matchup that Leon should not lose. It did not make sense that he couldn't figure out the particular matchup with Trentino, although I think you guys brought up a good point on Friday as well about Gianelli did not have a very good game. I don't think he set a very good match at all. I said this on commentary that I wanted him to run the middle more. I wanted Soleil to be more involved. Like Mengozzi, whatever. He's a competent attacker at best, and they bring in Ricci. He was okay. But I take kind of a USA approach at middle attack, and the one thing that I'll always appreciate John Speraw for is that he lumps middle attack as like quick first tempo front court middle and the pipe. He lumps those two things together, and he wants a certain percentage of his offense to be run through the middle of the court, whether it's front or back row. The BIC was a complete non-factor for Perugia in this match. I think Dan said in the podcast that Leon had 1 attempt out of the pipe.
One for Leon, 4 for Matt Anderson.
That is not enough. That's not even close to enough when Micheletto is running that down your throat on the other side. It's insane that Perugia, with the weapons that they have, and even if you don't like hold the middles as highly of attackers as I think that they are, you still have Anderson and Leon in the pipe, 2 of the best pipe hitters in the world. How do you not go to them more than 5 times total in 6 sets? I think that's a setting failure and put a little bit more pressure on the wings to perform. Anderson did, Leon did not, and it was kind of that simple.
Do you think it's also, Rob, maybe because there's almost another technical strategic thing from Trentino where they were going to Leon when he was available for that pipe, forcing him to take a tough pass and then take him out of that, attacking option? I think, the more we talk about this game, guys, the more I'm like, man, this is a bit of a coaching win for Lorenzetti.
I totally agree.
Said, those rotations, absolutely. Bringing in the right player at the right time, like you said, the Micheletto serving, forcing Perugia into these areas. I think Lorenzetti gets a lot of credit for this win. And me, I'm tough on coaches. I don't give them a lot of credit, but this was a good performance.
I completely agree with 100%. That. Glad you brought that up.
Especially like we saw Lisinac throughout that game going with the short serve, right? And they were purposely trying to pull Leon when he was in the back row. They were purposely trying to pull him in front of the attack line and put him out of position in front of the attack line and to make sure that that pipe option wasn't available. And it really just got into a point for Perugia. We talked about it a little bit on Friday about it was just a high ball offense to the outside. High balls to Richlicki, high balls to Leon and Anderson. They really didn't utilize the middle at all. Now, this is 2 years in a row that Perugia has fallen to Trentino in the Champions League. Last year it was in the quarterfinals. This year it's in the semifinals. Is it Micheletto or is it Trentino and their systems as a team that's allowing them to have this much success against what is on paper the best team in the world?
I mean, I think Dan's right. I think Lorenzetti gets a lot of the credit. Now, last year, that Trentino team should have probably beaten Perugia, in my opinion, when Perugia was the most one-dimensional elite team of all time. But this year, like Dan was saying, there's no excuses for this Perugia team. There are no excuses. You don't have Heinen to blame. You don't have Travica to blame. You don't have the lack of an opposite to blame. You went out and got Nikola Grbic to coach you. You got Rychlicki. You got Anderson. And you got Gianelli. There are no excuses for that. So as for why Trentino was able to do this 2 years in a row, I don't think the two in terms of last year versus this year are connected in any way. I think it's just this year Trentino. I definitely think Lorenzetti outcoached Grbic, and they did just such a great job at putting Leon in positions where he was visibly uncomfortable in a way that we just don't usually see from him.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is the pressure too, because Perugia versus Trentino 4-2, combining Champions League. I guess 4-3, depending on if you count that last one as a win or a loss.
It's four. They're 4-4 after.
4-4, okay.
Yeah, after this.
Anyway, my point is Perugia has pretty much not lost against a team other than Trentino for a little while now.
Yeah, they lost 1-5 setter to Modena, but other than that, Trentino was responsible for every one of their losses this year,
which was in November. I think the pressure was there for Champions League. I think the leadership in Perugia, I think the chairman, one goal this year. Hey guys, I spent $500K on Gianelli, I spent $1 million on Leon, I spent $700K on Matt Anderson, made up numbers, but that's a lot of money for a volleyball club.
Probably not right? Off with a lot of those numbers.
Probably.
Well, I mean,
it's a lot of money.
Matt Anderson's
the expectations were Champions League or bust this year for sure, and that can sometimes get the players' heads.
100%. And you know what? I think, Dan, you're completely right. I think just this comes back all the way to Lorenzetti, and Lorenzetti has established himself as clearly as the best, if not one of the best, coaches in Superliga. Now, we're gonna have a rematch of last year's finals between Trentino and Zaxa. Obviously, Zaxa's path to the finals is a little less eventful than last year's, and a little less eventful than Trentino having to go through Berlin and then just a JW team that's not up to snuff. What are our thoughts early on? Last year, I was all Zaxa. This year, I'm really on the Trentino bandwagon. And let's remember too, last week I thought Trentino was done. Right? Last week
you did.
I thought that they had kind of emptied the tank to beat Perugia in the first leg, and then they ended up losing to Piacenza, and then Trentino bounces back with two big wins, obviously against Perugia in Champions League, and then Piacenza to move on in the semifinals. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Rob, starting with you, what's your quick prediction here for this matchup?
Well, credit to you, Everett, first of all, for taking responsibility for a bad take, because last week I agreed with you last week where it was reasonable to think that Trentino, after 5 setters against both Perugia and Piacenza, could have been burnt out coming into this one, which
they
I think
injured,
makes them all the more deserved.
It was just just made sense. Clearly they go ahead.
And I said last week that they needed that third wing. They needed Lavia to be a lot better, and he was 15 for 29 with only 3 errors plus 4 blocks. He was exactly what they needed him to be, so that certainly helped. I think because of the way Trentino was able to do this and in the fashion that they did it, with the amount of studying and matchup exploitation that they clearly did, they're my early favorite over Zaxa. I think that Zaxa last year, I think we all agree, was better than Zaxa this year. And I'm not sure that Zaxa this year can roll with the various looks and the punches that Trentino is going to throw at them this year, the way they could have last year. Different coaches as well, Kretsu instead of Gerbich. I don't know. I think Trentino has the size. I think they're better in the middle. I think they're two of the three wings. I think they're at least as good. I think Micheletto is the best player on either team. And I think they've got a better setter. I think Spirituali's a little better than Janusz. So really the only thing Zox has got in like player head-to-heads for me is Shoji. I think is better than Zanger. And then it depends on what you count as an opposite. But like obviously Zox's wings are world class. But I think Trentino
as an opposite.
No, I mean Trentino is better than them in the middle and at the center spot. I don't really think that's that debatable.
But Micheletto may be the best player on these teams, but I think on the wing, Zax has the next three guys. I would take Semeniuk, Kaczmarek, and Śliwka over probably Lavia or Kaziski. Especially both of those guys are Lavia's playing really well. Kaziski's they're great players and they've done incredible and way above expectations this year, but still. So Semeniuk and Kaczmarek's having like a career year this year. So, I mean, I'm going to have to do a deep dive into this because I think it's worth going like really like watching some serious tape on these two teams and coming together and doing like a big prediction show. And we have a lot of time to do that. My early pick is Zax.
6 weeks. Okay,
yeah, let's definitely for sure do that. We'll have to schedule something specifically just to preview this. And yeah, well, Dan, you do a deep statistical deep dive for this one, and we'll figure it all out.
Yeah, that's very much worth doing. So we've got Everett and I on Trentino and Dan on Zoxa going into it. We'll see how much that changes over the next month and a half.
Is
Rob though?
Is that what you're picking here, Dan? Are you going
initially? I have the ability to change it.
Okay,
I have the ability to change it.
Fair enough. Right. Yeah, when we do that deep dive show, our picks will be locked in, and there will be no going back at that point.
Definitely.
I just remember Rob last year on the European Volleyball show when you got predicted like 10 games in a row between men and women Champions League. So I don't know. It's going to be tough.
I don't know. He hasn't been that good over there with Dynamo Moscow, heading things for him this year.
How can you possibly have that take? Lube lost to Yashevsky. Even if they would have beaten them, why wouldn't you say they could have lost to Dynamo Moscow? That's a stupid take.
You're not wrong. But moving forward, want to talk a little bit about let's talk a little bit about the Italian League playoffs before we talk about the PlusLiga playoffs. You just mentioned Lube. To me, that Lube Trentino matchup, Rob, is going to be insane. If you had asked me last week, you would have said Lube versus Trentino. I would have said Lube 2-0, right? Is it a 5? It's a 5-game series, right?
It's a 5-game series.
It's a 5-game series.
Finals, yeah.
So I would have called Lube 3-0, but Trentino has really turned the corner for me here, and they're looking good. Like they're looking top notch. And on the other side, like, could we not have more perfect semifinals in the Superliga than we do this year?
These are great semifinals. I mean, Lube, weirdly enough, because about a month ago or whenever it was that they lost to Yashevsky and they were on a bad streak in Superliga, we were just all over them for the failures that they were having at the time. But in the last 3 weeks, they've really been flying under the radar. Like they got past Monza easily, and they've been just kind of sitting around because that Trentino Piacenza series went longer. And obviously they're out of Champions League. So we haven't talked about Lube in a little while. And that's kind of fun because I now have a harder time picking this series because I don't exactly know what Lube is going to give us. And Trentino's been a little up and down this year against Lube in particular. I think Lube may have gone 2-0 against him in the regular season, if I remember correctly. But the big question marks for me are what kind of Osmani Juantorena are we going to see, if any? Who's the second outside? Is it Lucarelli or Yant, and how are they going to play? And then how does Trentino attack the matchup? How does Lorenzetti strategize against the fact that Robert Andy Simone is going to get 6 or 7 balls per set? Like, how do they keep Trentino, or how do they keep Lube off the service line? They did a good job against Perugia, but you could argue they got a little bit lucky catching Perugia on a horrible serving day. Can they withstand Lube if I don't know, if Osmani, if Simone, if Zaitsev, if Yant are just serving bombs? Who knows? So I have a very hard time picking this series. I definitely won't be a sweep. I could see I could see either team winning in 4 or 5. I really don't know how to pick it right now. But it does start on Thursday of this week with game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on the Trentino side of things, I thought maybe they'd come in a little bit sluggish. We've talked about how many sets they've played. Like they've had to play 5 sets against Perugia last week, and then 5 sets against Piacenza, and then 6 sets against Perugia. And they came in and just blew the doors off of Piacenza.
Yeah, they destroyed them.
Just destroyed them.
Destroyed
6 aces for Micheletto in 2 sets. Right after 2 sets, he had 6 aces. 6 aces, only 1 error. Micheletto and company absolutely blew the doors off of Piacenza. Piacenza was really one-dimensional. They only went to Tonchek Stern. He was the only guy, like he had 36 attempts. The next guy up was Aaron Russell with only 13. Just
what is that?
Just like a terrible match from all sides.
Brain dead offensive performance.
It was terrible. Like that's why we're not even talk about
it. Take everything that they did well to beat Trentino in 5 the match before, and other than the lineup, go away from the strategy entirely. Bernardi, you moron.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hey, let's at least give him credit the fact that he went with Aaron Russell, and didn't bring in Tsiborassar and Antonov and all of the other stuff. But yeah,
he didn't start Racine. What happened here? Is the stat sheet correct in saying that Damiano Catania played outside hitter for a set? He's
I think Racine was playing quite poorly based on what I remember.
Yeah, he was negative efficiency, but it says
definitely seems like a bit of a gaffe though.
Weird.
Yeah. But on the one side, they couldn't answer Trentino. Are we seeing
9 aces to only 10 service errors for Trentino in the match?
Yeah, wow. Which is like, once again, Micheletto 6 for 1. That's absolutely insane.
It's insane.
It's what Dan and I a couple weeks ago on the 5-1 podcast, we talked about, is he reaching GOAT status? And like, every week he impresses me.
Does he have the potential to reach GOAT status? Is he on,
I think he's on the path.
The line graph.
Does he have the potential? Yes. How could you not say that he has the potential right now?
Because he's the greatest of all time in a sport. That's pretty legit. Most players fall off of that path by the time they're like 20.
Yeah.
Well, he is 20. And yeah, he is 20 and he has no weaknesses in his game. No. And you could argue that in all 5 main areas of being an outside hitter, he is top 10 in the world at least.
I'd love to put together a highlight package of just him passing and playing defense. The way he moves, so so fast. Like someone his size should not move the way he does.
I don't think we talk about his backcourt defense enough. He's nuts.
There was one play, I forget what it was. It was a serve with a dribbler off the net. It was falling towards the attack line, and he immediately sprawls and scoops it and just shoves it towards the setter. Perfect pass for Spatoli. And he gets up, another dig, and then crushes a ball in the pipe. It's just like he moves like a libero, but he's 7 feet tall. It's absolutely ridiculous. But
do you guys want to hear some Micheletto numbers?
Yeah, let's hit us with some Micheletto numbers.
Okay, since the start of 2022, so what is that, like 15 games ish? Leading Trentino in points, 370. Second place Kaziski, 322. 40% hitting efficiency.
Woof.
Also very good.
Yep.
Also, by the way, Lisa Natch 58% since then. 2.04 passing out of 3, so leading Trentino in passing as well.
He's passing at 2.4. My goodness.
11.5 ace percentage, so that's higher than guys like Zaitsev and Simon. Also, only 15 air percentage, so also pretty crazy.
Wow.
And also, he's almost tied with Spatoli for second on Trentino in digs as well, like we just said. A great defender. So
how about blocks? Do you have blocking numbers on him?
Yes, he has 36 kill blocks, and he touches 7%. So I mean, those numbers are not going to be as high for an outside hitter. But I think that's the one where we can see the eye test. And still, 36 kill blocks is pretty good for Mr. Micheletto there.
Unbelievable.
So my question for you guys, with these series heading up, in semifinal series about to get underway, is there a favorite in either series? Right, like I think maybe the the Lube Trentino series is a bit of a toss up, but we look on the Modena Perugia side. I think there's a clear favorite and an underdog. However, we all know the potential of Modena. We all know that they could potentially just pop off and You know, like this could be the first time that they really feel that pressure all year and they go off against them. Like what they were 1-1 against Perugia this year. Engapeth only has one loss all time against Perugia. Like
best stat ever,
right? Like I think that this like we could be in for some of the best semifinal series that we've seen in a while.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There was a couple weeks ago on this show when I said that I really think that Modena is the only team that has a chance of beating Perugia in a 5-match series. And what I just saw from Trentino in Champions League has added them to that list for me. But I don't think that Lube can do that. But I still do think Modena, in some world, it is possible for them to play up to the Perugia level in 3 out of those 5 matches. It might be possible for them to win this series, but I'm not going to pick it. I think that Perugia now is going to be so pissed off from what happened in Champions League that I think they're going to kind of destroy Modena. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sweep.
And we've seen that a little bit in the past where a team will unexpectedly lose Champions League for like Lube last year, and they just don't let it happen again, right? Like they're going to be fired up.
Which could be a factor in the Lube Trentino series also.
Exactly, as well. I think for me, I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I think Lube is going to win that one. Like you guys said, really their only weakness is that second outside hitter position. In 2022, both Jans and Lucarelli are hitting under 30% efficiency. Ouch. So that's pretty bad. And also both of them are not passing that well. Actually, Reina's playing well. I believe in Lucarelli. I believe he can do it. So that's why I'm going to pick Lube. But ultimately, I think Lube is going to win also because, like we were saying, they lost Champions League. It's time to go. And also, really, for Modena, the only path I see to success for them with the way they're playing right now is like just an all-time serving performance from
totally.
Namir. I mean, and he can do it. Like him and Leon are the two guys where you can basically win an entire series on serves, but that's a lot. That's a low percentage maneuver here.
I agree. I think that's the biggest chance that Modena has is for the combination of Namir, Leal, and Engapeth to just absolutely light it up from the service line. I think that's the only chance they have, but that's not impossible.
I don't know. I could just see something happening, right? Because you talk about the Perugia and Lube feeling that they're owed theirs after losing in Champions League, but is that not the same case for Modena? Did they not lose in embarrassing fashion in the CEV Cup? Did they not lose in embarrassing fashion in the Italian Cup? This team has a lot to answer to. This team has a lot of expectations on their back. And do you think this team, with the talent that they have and the legendary experience on their team, they've got Olympic two different types of Olympic champions with Bruno and Engapeth. Hell, wasn't Bruno Olympic MVP as well back in 2016? You've got arguably the best right side player in the world in Namir. Like, if there was ever a time, like if you could make one comparison for this Modena team in North American sports, they're 100% the Brooklyn Nets, like a team that is massively talented, that has had questionable performances from of their superstars all year long, but you know that if something clicks, they're ready to run. And I could 100% see the pressure of this season and this series coming down and being like, let's go give it to Leon. Let's go give it to Matt Anderson. Let's go give it to Gianelli. Everyone wants this team on paper to win, and we're going to go spoil it for them, right? Like, I could 100% see Modena play that way, right? And I feel like it just takes one thing for them to be able to come together as a team and go off. Like, hell, we didn't even talk about Leal at all. Like, this team is so talented that at any point I think they can go off.
You may have just talked me into it, and that's why I think this series is going to be so good. And because like I'm still going to pick Perugia, but
who have they beaten this year, guys? Who have they beaten? They beat Trentino once.
Perugia.
Modena beat Perugia. Modena was the only team in regular season to beat Perugia when Perugia had their whole lineup. Modena was the only team. Trentino did it once when Gianelli
in November.
When Gianelli got COVID the morning of the match, Trentino beat him in Superliga. That was Perugia's only other loss of the season was to Modena, and they had their full lineup.
Listen, I love Modena. I went to one of their games in the fall. I bought an Irvin Engapeth jersey there. If I remember correctly, Rob, I almost got you a Dragan Stankovic jersey, but
they weren't selling them. I was heartbroken. What's a homie got to do to wear a daddy number 7 on my back? Come on.
Next time in Europe, we'll pick one up. But I don't know, guys. I'm not seeing it from Modena. They're too air prone, and you compare them to the Brooklyn Nets. And we're going to stick with the basketball analogies here. I see them a little more as the Los Angeles Lakers. I think the current construction of this team just doesn't work. I think the egos are too big. I think they're not getting along. I think they're pointing fingers. I think just the chemistry isn't quite there for this team. You have your legendary players like Bruno, not getting older, not playing as well. Could they win a game or two? Yes, but I think Perugia is very certain going to win this series.
You're comparing them to the Lakers, who didn't even make the playoffs, right? We're talking about a Modena team who's already won a playoff series.
Well, they're both right? Yellow and gold, or yellow and blue. So.
Yeah, okay.
That's what got me started on that.
I think Perugia is a little more Lakers-like because LeBron and Leon are just the most similarly dominant players that assembled superstar teams around them. But I kind of like the comparison of just the general lack of chemistry that Modena has that the Lakers also had. I see it both ways.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not necessarily picking Modena for this series, but I'm just saying that they could make things interesting. And if I can 100% see a scenario where they win this series.
Well, let's get our picks on the record before we move on.
Okay.
Mine are Perugia, and I'm actually going to pick Trentino in the other one.
Can we? Let's do a number of games too.
Okay.
That's a tiebreaker.
I'm going to say Perugia 3-0. I really think that Perugia is going to come out and destroy them. And I'll go with Trentino 3-2. They seem to like marathons. I think they might be in for another one.
I'm going Trentino 3-1. And I'm going Perugia 3-1.
Okay. Dan?
I'm going to go Perugia 3-0.
Okay.
Come on, someone's got to pick Lube, Dan.
And no, I'm going Lube 3-1.
All right.
Okay. No one's picking Modena here.
No, I think it's.
You guys just talked them up. Everett, you just said they were the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, absolutely. But if the Brooklyn Nets play against Milwaukee, I'm still going to pick Milwaukee.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? Like, I'm picking Giannis over KD right now. I don't care what what Ben Simmons might bring to the roster and what Kyrie is going to do. On the flip side, I think Raptors are going to absolutely thrash the 76ers, but that's for a different.
That's our basketball. That's our basketball
podcast altogether
today, guys.
Yeah,
that's plenty on basketball. All right,
exactly.
Moving on to more volleyball. Staying in Italy, let's take a look at the women's bracket now that it has started. Until today, there was no drama whatsoever. All four of the higher seed won their first matches at home. Until today, Novara went to Cuneo and lost a head scratcher in 4. They gave up a 10-0 run from 21-14 up to 21-24 down in the first set against Cuneo. Cuneo ended up just winning the match in 4 and looked like the better team. Gentlemen, is Novara championship caliber? Have they been too up and down this year? Have they failed to capitalize on great opportunities given to them in such a way that you don't think they can win a championship?
No, I mean, I feel like we say this every time when a team loses one game in this best of 3 format. That we said the same thing about Perugia versus Cisterna. It's a little early to write the obituary. We just had Trentino versus Piacenza. For example, I don't know. I think you're coming back home. Those Italian fans are crazy. Novara fans are crazy. I think they're going to get this third one pretty easily.
But just to bring some data to the question that I'm asking, you had Novara in Champions League. The only way you could consider what they did in Champions League was that they choked. They had an opportunity to beat THY on the road, which they had their fair share of adversity because they had COVID and they were forced to play the match, but they didn't get any points there. Then all they had to do is beat Dinamo Moscow head-to-head at home. They get swept at home and they miss out on Champions League. Then they had a chance to take the number 1 seed in the Italian playoffs, but they get swept by Scandicci. There have been a couple examples of and then a Italian Cup as well. They go up 2-0 over Conegliano, and sure enough, they get swept by them again. Now, they did finally beat them once later in the regular season, but in big moments, I think that's 3 pretty severe demerits on Novara's resume for championship level scenarios where they've kind of crumbled.
To me, is if you have to start looking at Ebrar Karakur and the way that she kind of disappears in big time matches. And we saw it a little bit with Turkey this summer, and looking at the numbers for her in this one, 13 for 45, 3 errors, blocked 4 times, hitting only a 29% hitting efficiency. And so
kill
her
percentage, her efficiency
kill
is way
her kill
worse
percentage
than
is
That's good. 29 efficiency is
29%.
not too bad for a
No,
woman outside hitter.
yeah, but no. So that's a 29% kill percentage. I'm sorry, that's not even her efficiency, right?
Oh,
she
yeah,
had
that's
45
brutal.
attempts. The next one up was Daldaropoulos with 27, and Bossetti with 21, and she wasn't great either, 5 for 21. So it's just kind of like, where is this coming from? Is it Hancock not delivering the ball well enough, or is
I think
his
that's
character?
part of the problem. I think Hancock is a little bit of the problem in terms of locating the ball as a setter.
I mean, I do remember doing an interview with Steve Aird, who was at the time an assistant coach with Penn State when Micah Hancock was there, and I remember talking to her, talking to him about, hey, how good is Micah Hancock? And she goes, well, like she does a lot of good things. Setting's just not one of them, which I thought was hilarious, right? When you're talking about,
that's hilarious.
right, because she could serve,
man.
she could play defense, she could do all of the things, and I do think that she's improved as a setter, but. Maybe that's exactly why we saw Karch go with Jordan Poulter as the starting setter for the USA, because, Hancock does bring a lot of nice things, but at the end of the day, like, she's just like, her hands and her ball placement and location just aren't necessarily the best.
Who would be the men's equivalent of that?
A setter who can do everything but set.
Byron Katarakis.
That's a niche take, but I kind of agree after a couple of matches watching him play. It's funny. I talked to Loy Ball about this, and he said that he was that player early in his professional career where he was good at everything except setting until his first pro contact was in Japan, where the hitters were so picky that he needed to learn how to set with unbelievable precision, and then he became the best setter in the world. But he by his own admission, he was that guy early in his career, that he was a setter that could do everything but set.
That's a good point, though. Playing in the Japanese system to develop setter precision, that's really like a good point. I've never thought of that before.
I asked him one thing that he learned from each country that he played in club, and that's what he said for Japan was he learned how to set the ball in Japan because of the high demands of his hitters.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it makes sense. But on the flip side, like, Novara needs to be getting better performances out of their outsides, right? And even looking at Chinchorella down the middle, 1 for 7. I honestly just want to chalk this down to a poor performance on Novara's side of stuff.
And that happens. And Dan's right. We don't have to like write the obituary just yet, but there's a little bit of a pattern here that's emerging to me that concerns me. I do still think they're going to beat Cuneo at home the next time, but do I think they can beat Monza in the next series? Maybe not. That's going to be much more interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you want to, Rob? Do we want to move on and talk a little bit about what's going on in the PlusLiga playoffs right now?
Yes, because there's something, a couple things that I want to talk about here that I dare say are the tiniest bit controversial. So let me put up. This is the final regular season standings of the PlusLiga. Okay. The last time we talked about it on last week's show, everybody was done except Gdansk still had to play 2 more matches. They had makeup matches from a COVID situation. They had to, sure enough, they had to play the top 2 teams in the league. They had to play Yashevsky and they had to play Zaksa. And here are the results of those 2 games, in addition to the first couple playoff games today, which we'll talk about in a second. But Yashevsky needed 5 sets to beat Gdansk, and it was 23-21 in the 5th, which is insane. And Gdansk went up 2-0 before Yashevsky pulled out a miracle of a sweep. And I didn't expect that this was going to be that interesting, because Gdansk was in like a distant 9th in the standings, and they would have had to win one or both of those matches to overtake Warszawa or Katowice in the playoffs. But it's set up for going into that very, very last match where Zaksa went to Gdansk. Zaksa, all they had to do was take 2 sets. And Zaksa knew they had to take 2 sets. So sure enough, Zaksa goes up 2-0. You see that second from the bottom there, 25-22, 25-21. Then they pulled all the starters completely. All of them. They pulled all the starters. Gdansk comes back. They get the reverse sweep. They leapfrog Warszawa and Katowice, excuse me, to go all the way up to 7th. And that has huge ripple effects. One, Warszawa's out of the playoffs. I bet they are pissed. But my response to them, if they're pissed, you probably shouldn't lose your last 5 matches in a row, as you see there on the graphic. The other thing, the other part of that
You're not
is
wrong.
the other part of that is that now because Gdansk is in 7th, not 8th, Zaksa doesn't have to go to Gdansk again, which is the farthest trip there is in Poland. Instead, Zaksa gets to play Katowice, which is a 1-hour drive. They can do that in a day and not even have to stay overnight.
I think it's less than that. It's like they're like 40 kilometers from each other.
Yeah, it's 40 miles. I looked it up today. It's like an hour at most during rush hour. And now Jaszewski has to make the crazy long drive to Gdansk. My question to you boys, is this a slimy move from Zaksa?
No.
Are they manipulating the system here, or like what's your take on this entire situation? Should they be allowed, or rather, not should they be allowed to do this because you can do whatever you want? Should they be punished for perhaps manipulating the standings like this?
No.
I mean, sorry, I'm going to be quick, Everett. Like if it's not the team, it's the system, it's the tournament. The teams are allowed to play within whatever rules are granted. If you wanted to change this, you can do, top 4 teams get to pick their opponents. That's the only way to avoid people going and slamming around for seeding. Do I think it's an honorable move? Absolutely not. Like I'd say play every game hard until the end, but fair enough to them.
But I mean, like we see it in other sports all the time with, load management or game management. You're going to play your bench players against a lesser team, right? So yeah, sure. The fact that this happened at the end of the season is a little bit questionable, but you would have seen this, like you probably would have seen something similar had they played in December, right? Where they play their guys sets 1 through 2, and in the third they let a few more guys in. Does it work out?
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. If it's not, if the situation was not the way it was, where they knew for a fact that they only needed to win 2 sets, they would have absolutely played the starters through the end. Because earlier in the regular season, when every single match matters so much, you have no choice but to do that. There's no way you pull the starters up 2-0 in a normal regular season game.
But we have seen that from Zaksa this year. But they've had losses where they've just kind of let their bench guys go out there, right? So
I kind of agree with Everett, because I think they learned from last year where in the PlusLiga playoffs, they just got absolutely gassed, and fatigue was a huge factor of it. They started the entire lineup for pretty much every single game without even taking a breath.
Right. We see it in the NFL all the time, right? Where teams who have already clinched their division and clinched the playoffs or whatever, will rest their players in end of season. And
I'm not disagreeing with that, but you don't see a game in week 8 of the NFL where nothing is decided yet, where they go up, like, I don't know, they go up 24 points at halftime and pull the starters out. Like, you don't see that. We've seen comebacks from down 28-3 in the Super Bowl. You can't afford to do that.
Yeah, but the Super Bowl isn't mid-season. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it's within the confines of the rules, and they're using it to their best advantage. It's a little bit questionable, but like you said, hey, Warsaw, just win.
Be better.
Right?
Don't lose your last 5. Don't do that.
JW, be better. Right? It was a close one for Zaksa. They did the bare minimum, but hey, maybe that will help them win it at the end.
Boy, did they really do the bare minimum. They brought it all the way down to set record, tied in matches and points. They brought it all the way down to set record. But
they knew exactly what they needed to do, and they got it done.
That's right. Dan's right. You play within the structure of the league. They can do the math. They understood what they needed to do. However, the optics of it are just not good. They are not good.
Now,
yeah, I do the same thing in my Monday night league. You just toss a game or two to avoid the matchup.
Yeah, exactly.
And
now, Rob,
avoiding the travel is, I think, a non-trivial part of this. Now they're going to make.
I think that's
that was a good travel analysis. It's a huge factor for these guys. These guys aren't flying.
Massive deal.
They're taking coach buses. They have giant legs. Like, it's definitely a factor.
Huge difference. You can't overstate the difference between playing Gdansk versus playing Katowice if you're there in southern or southwestern Poland, where both Zaksa and Jaszewski are. They're both right there. Katowice is right there. Gdansk couldn't be farther. It's all the way like on the beach of the Baltic Sea up there. It's far.
6 hours. It's 6 hours away. It's 6
far.
hours by bus. And yeah, that's a lot of hours for your boy Eric Soji, and the rest of his team. So I think, like, if you're the first place team, you get the opportunity to kind of pick who you want to play, and they got the best case scenario by getting to play Katowice. Now JW is going to be a little bit more tired, and when it comes down to that potential final, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Now, Rob, you got to watch a couple of the matches that were going on today. We did see a bit of an upset with Olsten taking down Skra Belchatov, and then Zarici taking down Rasovia in the other one. What did you see from those matches?
Yeah, so just to go over Zawiercie versus Zhezhov really quick, that's the 4 versus 5 series. Here's the entire Polish playoff bracket, by the way. Zaksa versus Katowice is 1 versus 8. Zawiercie versus Rasovia is 4 versus 5. Like you expect that one to be very competitive, but Skra versus Olsztyn is 3 versus 6. You would expect Skra to be favored. Now, this match was in Olsztyn. They were playing at home, but Karol Butrin, Dan, you've been high on this guy for a long time. 24 for 35, only 4 errors, 69% kills, and 56% efficiency. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys that I have to sing the praises of all the time because nobody outside of Poland knows who he is. And there's a surprising amount of Polish players like this in the PlusLiga. Like, these guys are really good, and it's so tough, so tough to get in that Polish national team pipeline. And as you guys know, like, how many Polish players play outside of Poland?
Like almost none.
Almost zero. Why would you?
Why would you? Yeah.
Occasionally Russia, once or twice in Italy. I guess Wilfredo Leon counts. Anyway, my point is that there's all these, like, not A+ guys, but like A- guys in Poland that you would never know about unless you follow the PlusLiga, which is why I'm always telling people to follow the PlusLiga. And Karol Butrin is definitely one of those guys for the last few years. He's not that flashy. He's not jumping out of the gym. He's just a really, solid, very hard hitting player. Like, I think that's one thing
really hard.
I think that's one thing we don't like, or at least I don't hear enough in the volleyball discussion. Literally just like the power of the hit, not your jumping ability or your reach or anything like that. Just literally the force you hit the ball with it is actually a very big factor, especially at this level where a lot of your points are scoring on attacks coming at guys ready in position around the block that just can't make the dig.
Right. Yeah. Arm talent, to use just like a quarterback analogy. Do you have the arm talent as an elite international opposite? And I think Butrin does have the arm talent. He might not have a couple of the other physical pieces, but he definitely has the arm talent. And Dan's right. Against a triple block, if you can hit the ball hard enough off the top of a triple block where a middle back defender, like on the end line or even deeper in position sticks, still can't dig that ball, then you have an advantage over people that can't hit the ball that hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, he reminds me so much of a guy like Jakub Jarasz, who a few years ago kind of like stepped in off the bench for the Polish team and just started going off, and no one really knew who he was. And if you look at the right side talent that Poland has had over the years with Bartman and with Kurek and now with Kaczmarek, there hasn't really been a lot of space to fit in there. But Dan, you're right. Like, Poland is just so deep where they have these guys that kind of.
And another guy to go back, I guess, go back to why Gdansk is doing so well, Lipinski as well.
Yeah, Lipinski is exactly another guy too. So it's just so much depth in that Polish system. So that's why they're so close. But at the end of the day, is there any other favorite? Like, is any team here going to compete with Zaksa? I know we had that conversation last year, and obviously they didn't end up winning it. But is it the same this year?
I think it is. I think a lot of these earlier series are going to be where the real drama comes in. Like, this Skra versus Olsztyn series could be really good because I think Skra's better than them, especially because Olsztyn lost one of their starting outside hitters. They brought in Maisam Salehi from Iran to be a starter the entire year, and he left halfway through the year with injury. And like today, Robert Andringa, 0% efficiency. So they didn't get anything out of him on the outside, and they were still able to beat Skra. That series could be fun. I think Zawiercie versus Zhezhov is fun. That match today was good. Uros Kovacevic was awesome. And then, like I said last week, as we were starting to talk about the PlusLiga playoffs, who gets the third Champions League spot? I think that's going to be a little bit more dramatic than who wins the league, because I do think that Zaksa is so much better than everybody else, Yashevsky included. I really don't see them coming back and pulling the miracle like they did last year.
No.
Yeah, I still like, part of me wants to pick Yashevsky, but after that Champions League beatdown, no way.
That was a beatdown. That was 5 sets of pure butt kicking.
Rob, remind me, in Poland, do they play a third place series for Champions League, or is it by?
I'm pretty sure they play a third place series,
yeah, okay.
But I want to double check that to make sure, because that matters a lot for how you pick that last.
I don't think Yashevsky is going to beat Zaksa, but I still think they can grab one of those spots. I still think they're a very good team, especially on the right day. I don't know where the last one though.
Confirmed.
Oh,
They do play a third
okay.
place series. The losers of the semifinals.
Yeah, Rob, like
play.
you said on Olshin, Salehi was huge from Andrinja hitting 21% efficiency in their last 10
He's
games.
basically a second libero. That's what he's in there for. And
Yeah, I
my
mean,
boy
Straw's
TJ
had a couple bad
DeFalco,
losses.
Taylor Averill,
Yeah.
some American boys balling out. I like to see that. Averill today 7 for 10, 4 blocks. That's outstanding. DeFalco 13 for 28. So I think they're a fun team to watch even without Salehi.
And Ginger's not even passing that well right now either.
Yeah,
So he's playing good defense. He's great back row defender, but
liability.
Everything else. I think Scraw is going to get the third spot. Yeah.
I think that they could. I think that Rasovia could, and I think that Zaviercik could too. I think that the winner of that 4-5 series is definitely
Don't
going to be.
You feel like Zaviercik's been slowing down a little though?
Yeah, a little. I don't think they're built for the long haul, and I think that's kind of what we started to see from them. Yeah. But they have world class wings. Or I would not Konarski. I definitely wouldn't give him that. But Conte and Kovacevic are awesome.
Yeah, I think they should go. For me, they've been relying too much on Conte though. I think it's time, unless Conte does what he did I forget it was the Olympics, where he's like hitting like 2% at VNL and then like did extremely well at the Olympics. He is a clutch player. He does have that. But Kovacevic, I think, is a better player, and he's having a better season. He's hitting a lot better already. He's serving quite well. So I think, and he's shown on Serbia and on Trentino in the past that he can be that kind of first option. So I would go with Kovacevic.
Well, ask and you shall receive. Kovacevic today 45 attempts, Conte 23, Konarski 27.
Yeah. What question for you
Coach
guys?
Dan.
Question for you guys. What happened to Sam Daru? Like the stat line in this one, 11 points, 9 for 23. Like, remember when he was all world? Remember when he was touted as being one of the best young players in the game? He's just fallen off.
Even like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have put him like, top 15 outside hitters. When he was on Zaxa, he was a beast. He was hitting the ball extremely well, playing well within the system, one of the best blocking outsides, had a nasty serve. Ever since he complained about the Champions League pre-Champions League match last year, where he said the ceilings were too low, and that's why Dynamo Moscow lost. That's what cursed him. Ever since then, he's been doing that. But like you said,
a CEV insider manufactured curse right there.
Yeah. But Everett, like you said, Daru in his last 10 games, 21% efficiency. Robert Andrinja levels here.
Yikes.
That
is bad. I mean, another guy looking at this stat sheet who seemed like he was coming on so hot. Rob, you might know a little bit this guy, Nick Sturgeon out of Loyola Chicago, coming in off the bench. You're right. Ohio State, my bad. I know he won the MIVA. Give me that much at least. Coming off the bench, I mean, it seemed like last year he was shaping up to be kind of a star in the PlusLiga, and now he's coming off the bench for Rasovia. What's going on?
Well, he reclassified as Polish because he was born in France, but to Polish parents. He got Polish citizenship, now no longer counts against the foreigner limit, which is enormous. And he's still sitting the bench behind a Sam Daru who's playing like garbage. I'm annoyed by this because I even called for it today in the Discord, and he came in for like a backcourt rotation for Chebul, I think, and that was it. I want Scherzen to be playing more. He's lethal from the service line. I think he's a good complement to Chebul across from him. If Daru's playing bad, take him out of the game. Quit starting him. His leash needs to be significantly shorter than it is if he's hitting like 20% efficiency in his last 10 matches.
Yeah, just more stooge-like behavior from European coaches who don't switch it up. It's crazy.
Overall question for you guys: how far are we from? Do you think we're just being sports fans? Who just criticize coaches because that's what sports fans do? Or do you think there's still a lot of, tactical ceiling left for top level volleyball?
I think there's a huge amount of tactical ceiling left. And I think that what we're seeing is that the game has transitioned and changed so much, right? Think about some of the best coaches we've had today. They grew up in an era with, side out scoring, games to 15, no liberos. The game was a much different place. The game was a much different game even 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Think about how much the game has changed throughout the years. And that's why we're seeing, I think that's why we're seeing maybe a laggard situation in the NCAA because you have all of these older coaches who are used to an older style of game and who are used to an older style of volleyball that just don't cut it anymore. I know for sure that we're seeing in Canada, as we're seeing is a youth movement. I mean, Benjo obviously is at the forefront of that. Gabe DeGroot doing a great job at Queens, Mike Hawkins at UBC, how, Terry Daniluk passed things down to Brock Davidoff. All the most successful clubs or university programs right now in Canada are with these younger, more exciting coaches who understand the game at a higher level, right? They've built off of the shoulders of giants that have come before them. And right now, I think that we're seeing that situation where a lot of these older school coaches can't keep up with where the game is at. And we're really starting to see those younger coaches come in and make an effect. And I think it's that transition right now where you've got younger guys who understand the game way more than the older guys who, grew up with rally point scoring and no libero.
Yeah,
I don't know, Everett. Lorenzetti's looking a little old for 42.
It's not an absolute, but I think there's some outlying factors in there. And I mean, I brought up Terry Daniluk before. He's obviously one, but man, like you telling me that like Heinen and who is the guy at Warsaw this year. What's his face? Anastasi. Anastasi used to be one of the best coaches in the year, and now he's not even making like terrible Champions League and a terrible run in the PlusLiga as well. Like if anyone's the Los Angeles Lakers right now, it's Warsaw.
Yeah, maybe coaches have a prime and a decline of their careers the same way players do, despite no physical deterioration. Yeah, just to bring it back to the top levels, Dan, that's a great question. I think that Zaxa last year really deserves a lot of the credit for generating some of the shift in the game that we've seen, because there was a huge break from COVID when everything kind of hit a wall. And then there was kind of a malleable moment for the volleyball world where after a dead stop, there was going to be a time where you could define sort of the path of the game in the future. And I think Zaxa came in last year and did that to a degree. I think it's why you see Trentino succeeding the way they are this year, playing a 3 outside hitter system and going back to the Champions League finals with arguably inferior talent than some of the teams that they've played. I know that we roast coaches a lot when they do dumb stuff, but I like that we praised Lorenzetti earlier when we talked about Trentino Champions League for the work that he's done, not just in that matchup, but really all season. They've had to roll with a lot of punches, and he made the call to define that team with that 3 outside hitter system. I think Zaxa last year, the way that team was constructed and the play style that they had, and also the way the club organized that with like much longer term contracts and building continuity over several years, has reinvented the way the club game is going a little bit, because now we're seeing a lot more longer term contracts being signed already. This year, I've seen more 2, 3, even 4-year deals being signed in pro club volleyball than I ever have before. I'd never really heard of anything but 1-year deals until this year. We know that Leon has extended. We know that now Rok Mozic has extended with Verona until 2025, which I couldn't believe. A club that barely avoided relegation, able to keep one of the great young prospects in the entire world for 4 more years. Even Jan Hadrava signed a long-term deal today. It's crazy, the shift, and it's a good thing in my opinion, the shift towards longer-term deals. That combined with the play style influences, I think a lot of it, and more than I think we talk about regularly, a lot of it goes back to what Zaxa did last year.
100%. Now, I actually kind of want to jump. You bring up Rok Mozic to Verona until 2025. That's an absolutely huge move by a team that, was fighting off relegation. Having a stroke over here. Goodness gracious. But
regulators, Warren G, Nate Dogg, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't even know, right? Verona signs Mozic until 2025. Absolutely massive. I love the fact that one of the smaller clubs is keeping a big name, and he's not getting picked up by a Lube or a Perugia, might get like a lot of loss on their bench. But they're also rumored to be going out to pick up 2 other big names. One of them is my boy, Mr. Former Captain Canada, Gord Perrin. So that, to me, that pairing of Rok Mozic and Gord Perrin on the left side is pretty nasty.
Love that move.
But Like, and on top of that, you're going to be talking.
I gotta get like a Verona jersey.
Yeah,
that's
Verona. Like,
insane.
and not to mention too, halfway through the season, Verona's jersey karma changed quickly.
100%.
Last year, they had the worst, just white and black T-shirts with nothing on them ever, and then this year they got changed to the blue and gold. Sick jerseys, but how good would Nomuri Keita, the Malian all-star out of Korea, look alongside Rock Mosic and Gord Perrin? Does that not make you excited to watch Verona next year if that actually happens?
That's going to be probably the most fun team in the world to watch next year. And it's not necessarily going to be because they're going to win much of anything. They're not going to have the budget, and then more importantly, the Italian talent to really be a factor, like to win the Superliga. But oh my goodness, are they going to be fun? Dan, you're the prospects guy. Tell us about this Malian kid that's been playing in Korea that almost nobody knows about. He's unbelievable. He's going to be unbelievable.
For those of you who don't know, I mean, the Korean leagues, it's fine, but it definitely is even a step below the Chinese and Japanese league. So I think we have to preface all this with that. However,
I would rate Korea higher than China.
For men's, okay. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. I would rate Korea higher than China for men's volleyball.
Okay. But Nomura Keita, if you're scoring 50 points, I mean, just if you guys get an opportunity, I think you can find a lot of the games on YouTube. Go watch him play. He is one of the best athletes we have in the sport. He's a bit of an unorthodox player. He does kind of like this trademark windmill attack. That's really cool. Not sure if that'll still work in Italy. It works well against the Korean block, but he has the athleticism. He has. I was anticipating, waiting for him to come because he could easily be one of those guys that just collects, the 350K in Korea every year. Like, that's a lot of money. Yeah. Why not? So I'm really glad that he's coming over to Italy, at least trying. Definitely, it's going to be good for his skills to get some run in the Italian league. I think it's still the best league to build up your skill set. He's going to get a lot of opportunities, going to get a lot of attacks. I don't know if the fit is perfect with Rock Mosic, as we know, the leading scorer in Italy. You're taking a guy who's famous for getting 55-point games, and then you have this prodigal, young scoring talent on the outside. That's a couple mouths to feed. Mr. Gord Perrin there, I've heard he might be taking on a little more of that libero OH2 role, which is fine. But
I think he thrives in that position.
Yeah, but like you said, they're not going to have the Italian talent. I really wish we had maybe at least one less for like Italian spot, because first of all, Italy doesn't need it. They have the best youth development program in the world by far. And coach development program. Every single young player and coach is coming to Italy to learn how to teach volleyball. They have an excellent youth academies. They have this whole infrastructure set up alongside the club program for young players to thrive in. If that's the reason you think like players aren't going to do well, a Luigi Randazzo did not succeed because he wasn't getting enough playing time in Italy. He didn't succeed because he wasn't good enough, as we've seen from guys like Daniel Levia and Alessandro and injuries in Micheletto. So if we're gonna improve the entertainment aspect of the product, and I would, I'm fine if Italy has the dominant men's league in the world for the next few years. That's fine with me, though it kind of sucks being in North America. But it's been pretty good. The viewing experience with Rob commentating games has been a lot better. So I think if we're gonna push this entertainment product, and I think the FFVB does, and I think CVC Capital does, then I think we're gonna have to open the number of foreigner spots, because a lot of these teams can still, pay 150K for a very good middle, and when we can see a lot higher talent level in the league, and it just kind of screws over teams like Verona and Padova that they have to dig so deep for liberos and middles and setters. Yeah, even though the rest of the roster is actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to bring up, is that this Verona setup with these three wings, first of all, Keita is a little bit volatile despite the potential upside. Can he be like a day in, day out starting opposite in the Superliga? We have no idea. Huge question mark. I agree with you guys talked about this on Friday. I agree with Dan's point that no matter what, it's an upgrade over Mads Jensen, but can he be a day in, day out, like reliable, efficient scorer? I have no idea. Then you can only spend one more foreigner spot elsewhere, and by that point, you're probably scraping the bottom of the barrel for middles, liberos, and or setter. And I hope you don't use it on like Luca Spirito again, because
I would disagree with that completely. No,
he
yeah,
didn't even
Rob,
play.
last
He
podcast.
sat the bench behind a 42-year-old all year.
Lucas Spirito made my
And that was
Lube
by
rebuild
far
team.
the worst pick either of you made.
No, I disagree with that.
Extremely low on Spirito. He sat the bench
completely.
behind a 42-year-old, 5'11" guy all year.
What was our best pick, Rob?
Everett's best pick was Gabriele DiMartino, the middle from Toronto. That was the best pick you guys made.
Value.
Great value.
Moneyball.
I picked Aaron Russell. Come on.
Yeah, but the value, the value for DiMartino is the best. Yes, Spirito is not a factor for me. He will lower Verona's ceiling significantly. I think they've got to, if the foreigner rules stay the same as they are, they've got to get a foreign setter and just do the best they can with middles and libero from Italy.
I don't know. I think that there's a lot of you're completely right. Like, we've never seen Nomuri Keita in like a high performance system. I know he's done some training. Like, he's played a little bit in Serbia. He's done some training with Perugia, but we've never seen him in a system like this. I hadn't really thought about who are you going to give the ball to? These are two guys who expect the ball a lot.
Yeah, Dan's got a great point there.
So yeah, you're right. But man, I don't know. I think you're underselling Luca Spirito a little bit. I think he's better than you think.
Is he the worst Italian setter, Rob? That starts.
No, okay. And he doesn't start, so that qualification does not fit. But no, he's not the worst.
Okay, fair enough.
Other transfers that we have to talk about before we move on. It seems, at least from what I was reading today, that it is confirmed that Flavio Gualberto is headed to Perugia. And I know that's been floating around the Discord and the internet the last week or two, but that was confirmed by some source in Brazilian media. My question for this is the same. If Soleil stays and Perugia's using 2 foreigner spots on middles, what are they going to do? Like, who are their 3 Italians going to be?
Just play Italian League with 4 and win Champions League.
Yeah,
but no, you're right. This is actually going towards a pretty bad situation for Perugia. They've always been a little lighter on the Italian talent. The last couple of years, they've rolled with a lot of Italian middles and Calacci basically. And luckily, they have Gianelli because
huge. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Enormous.
So it's going to be Gianelli. It's either going to be Calacci or Piccinelli if he's ready to step up to that starting role. And I think they're going to have a season next year where they put a guy on the bench, whether it be a Flavio or whether it be a Soleil or Anderson or someone. Might have 2 players on the bench.
We saw that when Lube Civitanova brought Mateusz Biniak in, where he only played in Club World Champs and Champions League, and then he went immediately back to Poland where he was useful, because that was an enormous waste of a world-class middle. I don't think that's a sustainable strategy, but it might be what they have to do. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I think this to me, you're not going out to get Flavio if you're guaranteed to bring Soleil back. That's the way I look at it. Also, just one thing back to our Spirito versus Rafael conversation. Spirito actually played more sets than Rafael last season.
Yeah,
so
but Verona was better when Rafael played, and that's not debatable at all.
Guys, Revin in the chat.
That's Ronnie. That's Ronnie Cuban Spike.
Oh, hey Ronnie, the alter ego Ronnie. Right. Rumors put Seda on Verona.
Oh, gross. Oh no, that might be worse than Spirito. Gross.
Oh my God. We were just praising earlier on the episode, Rob, that Japanese players are so high demanding, and no player fulfills those demands like Masahiro Saita.
Oh, Saita, like the Japanese setter.
I thought Sakita. No, sorry, I'm getting Sakita and Saita.
I thought you meant Davide Saita out of Vibo, and I was just like, no, that's going to be
But now
terrible.
that I said Sakita, I like that.
Well, if you think that if you think that Nishida's a blocking liability in the Superliga, wait till you bring Sakita in and tell him to block 3 rotations. Yikes.
And 2, that's just bringing another foreigner. So you're using your foreigner on your setter.
No chance.
Yeah, what about Mateus Sanchez?
Also a blocking liability and also a foreigner, despite the fact that I love him.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're
Poro.
That would be more like it, but I think he is probably stuck in Milano because they rolled the dice on him this year. He was so young. They gave him the keys to the car. I think they're going to keep him. At least that's what I heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That both at either ends of the kind of talent spectrum in the league, I think what Perugia and Verona both do in the offseason is going to be super duper interesting with the foreigner limit in mind, unless it changes. I don't see it changing, though. I think that the Italian Federation will clamp down hard on anybody, like even the FIVB trying to change what they do there.
That's going to require a lot of political willpower and quite a few political bullets, if not cannons, to open that one up. And,
agreed.
I don't know. I'm not there anymore, so I can't peer enough behind the scenes to know what's going
on. We need to send you back in on a little espionage mission back to Europe for a couple weeks, Dan.
Take me with you, please.
Hey, they're coming. The Italian Federation is coming to Vienna.
That's good news. Yeah, Vienna, Ottawa. That's just stacked with all sorts of great national teams, and by great national teams, I mean obviously not the United States. Why would you send them to Canada, the closest possible place? Unbelievable.
Yeah, just heartbreaking. Would love to see, like, whenever we have the USA versus Canada in Canada too, it's an electric match. Like, that's a match that we can sell at the stadium, and that stadium's like a 12,000 person building.
No,
right?
I want it
and
bad.
It's perfect for volleyball, and it's just too bad.
Speaking of VNL, we have some news on this. There is the one of the final dominoes of like what is to be figured out with VNL has now fallen, and we have learned that the women's finals for Volleyball Nations League this summer will be in Ankara, Turkey.
Makes sense.
Still no clue about the men's, but boys, is this a great pick? Because I think it is.
Great pick, fantastic pick. You know, you're gonna go to a country that cares about it, that's gonna pack it out. You're gonna have a good team there in what I believe is now a final 8 instead of a final 6.
Correct.
So it's better. It's more exciting. We're done with this garbage 6-team pool scenario that volleyball loves to do. We're getting back with the rest of the world. I think that everything is pointing for this to be an electric Nations League finals. And you know what? They probably won't have to go to the dark seating around, because there's probably going to be people there.
And they have facility familiarity because Club World Championships was just there.
True. Very, very true.
And yeah, we know the Turkish fans. I mean, arguably the best fans in the world.
Incredible.
Are just gonna light that place up. We saw the Eurovolley 2019 finals, not in Ankara, but Istanbul, and that was just a sea of red. A sea of red.
Yeah, that country is nuts about volleyball, women's volleyball in particular. As I see every single time I do the European volleyball show, the live chat is just completely dominated by Turkish fans, which is awesome. So other than that,
who do we want to see hosting the men's final?
I think it's got to be either Poland or Italy. I think they have the most infrastructure to come in at the last second and host an event like that. Not that they're necessarily the best choices. I think they're great choices. They're two countries with great volleyball cultures and can probably pack that stadium. But I think just logistically, those two are the most likely.
What about France? I could see France stepping up. They just won the Olympics, right? It would be a great chance for them to put their team on display.
Could you see a Slovenia after their performance last year? They're ponying up for the super finals. Ljubljana is like a world-class city. My absolutely top underrated city in Europe that I've been to.
Could potentially, yeah. It is a lot of money to pony up, though. And thinking how much is it? I don't know, but I know it's a lot, right? Like, I know that you're probably taking a big loss on the Nations League finals, and that's just the reality of it, is because the amount of matches that there are, that you can only play so many home matches, and more than 50% of your matches aren't going to feature your home team, so you're probably not selling them out, right? It's definitely a loss. Now, I don't know what it costs to host the Champions League finals. I'm guessing it's going to be quite a bit. I don't really see the Slovenian Federation having the deep pockets, or having someone around to host both the Super League or the Champions League finals and the Vienna finals. I think it's a bit of a stretch.
Champions League finals only 2 matches in one day, though.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So you use the same venue, you use the same team. You kind of prepare for both at once.
Yeah.
You have all the channels. You have all the I guess human resource infrastructure to do one, then you just do the other one.
Do both. Yeah, I kind of agree with Dan. I think Slovenia it wouldn't surprise me if it went there, especially because they're going to have that major international event under their belt in, again, a month and a half, which is way too long to wait for Champions League. But I think that is perhaps a stepping stone to them getting more international events in the country and promoting Slovenian volleyball, because their national team is good. I kind of like that one, Dan.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Definitely won't be coming to Canada, the USA. I'm
No,
going to say that
no, 0% chance.
fully. Yeah,
No,
0% chance.
no
Maybe
way.
what happens if they throw it in like the
Chicago is sick.
Philippines?
Well, it was sick for us. It was certainly sick for me. I live here, but it was so bad. It was so badly attended that I think that USA Volleyball and FIVB are on the same page that that will not be happening again for an event of that caliber. Dude, I complained about this when we were first talking about VNL. I've been to those matches in Hoffman Estates, which is one of the suburbs here in Chicago, where they like to bring one of the weekends of like regular VNL competition under the old format for 3 days. And the crowd, if you don't get lucky and you have a European team like Poland or Serbia or Bulgaria playing, where their fans will be 95% of the crowd. If you don't have that, the behavior of American spectators at a volleyball game is so embarrassing that there's no way the FIVB will tolerate that being on display for their finals. The last time I was there was when Canada, Japan, and China came to Chicago for VNL, and the crowd was dead silent for serves like it was tennis. You could hear a pin drop. It was embarrassing.
That's kind of funny, though.
It was embarrassing, and for that reason, you cannot expect USA to host anything for men's in the foreseeable future. But apparently, for women's, it's acceptable to send them to Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana. Guys, you got stop doing this to me. You're getting me on a roll. I'm already sick. I don't have the energy for this. Stop it.
Ottawa's going to be lit.
Yeah, I know.
Ottawa's very fun
will
last
be
time.
Ottawa will be lit.
Oh, God. Well, speaking of American volleyball, I want to wrap the show up with this because the Volleyball League of America had quite the weekend. I billed this particular event as because we had two events at the same time. We had
so many matches, man.
Oh, my God. Louisville Central Division, 6 matches, 3 teams, double round robin. I knew this was going to be a bloodbath. Sure enough, every team goes 2-2. Team Pineapple plays 4 5-setters. They're almost dead tied in set ratio after the end of the weekend, and it was absolutely insane. I wasn't there. I was in Buffalo, but the photos of the crowds at this gigantic juniors tournament we were on court 67 for reference, and that was 67 of easily 100, if not more, courts that were going on, and that many juniors teams. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people watching these 3 teams play, and they delivered because the drama, just looking at these score lines, was off the charts. So that's cool. I'm excited to get the match video and do some watch parties on these. But even more ridiculous was this.
Go Eastern Cleveland.
Oh, my God.
Eastern Cleveland.
This was ridiculous. So this is the tournament that I was at, 8-team tournament, the East Division Cup in Buffalo. East Side Cleveland Volleyball Club, ECV. A literal worst of 4 story. They got dead last, 13th out of 13 teams at the Chicago tournament just a month ago, and they come all the way back and they win this tournament. It was insane.
Okay. Rob, I have a question. I actually watched the final match.
I know. I saw you in the chat. It was awesome.
Great call, by the way.
Thank you.
And the reason I think they won is, if I can do the analysis, there was one player on Eastern Central Cleveland or whatever it was, who, I'm sorry, did not look like a volleyball player at all.
Yeah.
Like, he was probably my height. He was probably, a little overweight, a little older. But what the heck? When he would go up for these like pipe attacks, and I was like, oh, he just sniped the corner. He would go, hit in position 4, and he would hit under the block. He would hit tool every time. It's like, who is this guy? That is a player that every like athletically challenged person. I'm sorry if he's watching, but you should watch him play, because that was like a masterclass in how to do a lot with not very much.
He was incredible. Not only he's not a big guy. He's like Dan's right. He's I don't know. I was up next. I was talking to him all weekend. He's 6'1", maybe a little heavier set. He literally has a goofy footed approach. He jumps goofy footed, but has an absolute cannon. He has a cannon. He hits the ball so hard. And
this goes back to our hitting power debate.
Yep. Arm talent. He's got world class arm talent. And then they had he played left side, and next to him on the left side was a 6.
I had a lot of fun watching PLA this weekend. That was some pretty good streams you guys got going there. So let's keep it up throughout the summer.
How many more events you guys got? There's only just the one event, right? There's just the VLL Cup.
There's a little bit more. First of all, check out this little snapshot. Just inside the ropes. Look at our database at the number of matches that were played this weekend. I think it was 23. total, which is just ridiculous. So a lot of volleyball going on, and all of this was awesome. Yeah, up next, we'll be in Boston at the very, very end of this month for more East Division regular season. Then VLA Cup is the big one in May that has 20 teams. That'll be completely insane. Then we'll be on the West Coast one more time, Memorial Day weekend, like at the end of May for the West Division. Then playoffs. So top 6 out of the 8 Tier 1 teams make playoffs. Tier 2, the playoff structure is a little interesting. Top 4 teams on the year, but if you win a VLA Cup tournament, you're in. Therefore, ECV is in. So one Tier 2 playoff spot just got erased by the upset win of that tournament. So a lot of fun drama going on. Here's a picture of the boys.
Yeah, number four. There we go. Yeah, I'm cheering for them.
Yeah, he's barely taller than their libero.
Go back and watch the game footage. But okay, before we end here, here's my sports media rant. That's the kind of thing that I experienced this weekend. That's a touch point that you want people to be on when they're getting into a new sport, when they're getting into trying to follow a team. It's just like little stories like that. And Rob, I think you did a really good job of building up the story for people following along. And now that something like this Eastern Cleveland team, probably I'm not the only one. I'm going to be like, well, now I'm going to check them out next tournament. Let's see if they can do it again, right? Let's see if there's something here. Just well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I've taken some of the conversations that you and I have had, Dan, about North American, and Everett too, North American sports media and how it should apply to volleyball but doesn't, and creating storylines is a huge part of that. And a league like the VLA, where very, very few people tune in on a super regular basis and are up to date with all the storylines in a given match, especially like a championship match of a tournament, I have to outline why you should care about this if it's your first time watching. So a team going from worst to first is as good of a storyline as you can get. Like, you're invested in that immediately. Wait, they got dead last. They got 13th out of 13 teams the last time they played. They're about to win this tournament. That's really cool. So yeah, thank you for recognizing that. That was very intentional by me.
Ronnie in the chat says, dude looks like a Home Depot cashier who sits and eats barbecue ribs on the weekends.
Guys, I swear, that's what I thought too. I was
baller,
like,
absolute
baller. Rob,
baller.
what kind of product are you putting out here, man? Like, who is this guy playing? And then I was like, oh shit, what is going
There's
on?
actually, I remember a story like that. One year, like the Canadian, I think it was like 2013 or something, Canada sent like a team to the university games, and this team was stacked. It had like Stephen Marshall, Rudy Verhoof, like I'm pretty sure TJ Sanderson was on that team. It was very much the team that like moved on to the Olympics, and one of the best teams that year was the Czech Republic, and they had this big kind of greasy looking right side that no one could stop. And guess who that guy was?
Jan Hadrava, exactly. So you know what? Way.
Sometimes like that greasy old dude that looks like he doesn't belong ends up kicking Lube out of the Champions League. So hey, it's exactly what we saw this weekend from Eastern Cleveland.
Oh, that's really funny. Well, we pretty much have to end the show with that joke there. But before we do, Everett, first tell the people about our sponsor, BetUS, before we get out of here.
Yeah, if you guys like betting on sports, hey, even if you just like sports, maybe you want to add a little, a little spice to your evenings. Why don't you try out some sports betting?
We're all about spice in the Volleyball Source Network, aren't we?
Yeah. That spice and the spiciness is definitely present. If you're not aware, come join us on the Discord, where you're going to be able to learn to bet. Johnny Boy will teach you, and that's why we've partnered with BetUS. They are America's favorite sports book. They've been around since 1994. They are the true OGs of it all. And look, we're straight up giving you free money, right? When you sign up with BetUS using the code Volley125, you can use a link just down below in the show notes. It is going to give you a 125% deposit bonus. You deposit $100, it's going to give you $225. It's literally free money. So make sure you check out the link below. Use the code Volley125. And get your betting game on. What are you waiting for?
Yep, what are you waiting for? And come hop in the Discord with us to talk about that and all the other great volleyball going on this weekend. We got Italian semis starting tomorrow with Modena Perugia, then Trentino Lube on Thursday. There's going to be a lot of activity in the Discord, as it is fully in the middle of club playoff season. So the Discord is by far the best place on the internet to chat with other volleyball fans from literally all around the world. It has changed my volleyball consuming life, and it will do the same for you. And then, of course, this show. We'll be back next Tuesday, and these two lovely Canadian gentlemen will be back, I assume, on Friday, like usual, with regularly scheduled 5-1 Volleyball Source crossover podcast.
It's Easter this weekend, so TBD on that. Right. We maybe have to change the timing. We'll talk about it.
Well, yeah, we're pumping out a lot of content these days, both myself and these other two. So make sure you're subscribed here to Volleyball Source. Follow us all on Instagram and join the Discord for kind of it all in one place. There's a lot going on. So thanks for watching. And boys, thanks for joining me. It's great to see you both. We'll talk next week, huh?
Thank you, Rob. And thank you, Everett.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Peace.